Okay, Shalom Macha. What I want to do real quick, as you can tell by the title, is go into the Hebrew. And when I go into the Hebrew, I want to use the Tiberian pronunciation, which is a pronunciation from about. I'm using the grammar book from that was published around 1000 to 1050 AD. Okay, so in that processing, okay, or in publishing, we're gonna, just show you the way that the pronunciation of the Hebrew would have been about 1,000 years ago. Now, this isn't the oldest grammar book available, but it is one of the older grammar books that's easiest available. Because it was really published in our time frame by a man named a scholar named Jeffrey Khan in a book called The Tiberian Pronunciation Tradition of Biblical Hebrew. And it's a grammar book that was used over 1,000 years ago. All right, the name of the grammar book would have been at that time the Hidayat al-Qari, which means guide for the reader. And the book is available online. And again, Jeffrey Kahn put it together as part of a 2-volume book set under the title of the Tiberian Pronunciation Tradition of Biblical Hebrew. And he used the book that I just quoted that was published by a grammarian called Abu al-Faraj Harun, okay, who was in Jerusalem in the first half of the 11th century. So that's basically the overview of the pronunciation tradition that I'm presenting to you now. And it was one of the most respected pronunciation tradition, if not the most respected pronunciation tradition of the 11th century, the first half of the 11th century and before that, because we have those same rules being presented in other grammar books going back to like the 800s. So this book is a continuity or continuation of a grammatical tradition that goes back about 1,200 years. All right. So what we'll do first is just go look at the words, and then we'll go into the sound that the letters make. Very basic, very straightforward, very simple. Okay. At this letter, this is a sheen. And with the dot on the left side, it makes a s sound like an S. With the dot on the right side, it makes a sh sound like shoe. And this is a mem in this letter, or ma also. And this letter is called ghayin. Ghayin. All right. And this letter is called yod. Ya. Ya. And this letter is called sheen. Again, this letter is rosh. Okay. This letter is aleph. This is lamed. This is yod again. This is hey. And this is wawa. This is hey again. Aleph, lamed, hey, yod, nun, and wawa again. And we have yod, hey, wawa, hey. Aleph, chet, and dalet. Okay? So those are the letters, the sounds that make up these words. We have 6 words. So now what we'll do is let's go and identify. I'm not going to identify the cantillation marks, which are actually musical notes. We can do that at another time. But what I want to do now is just identify the the pronunciation marks, not the cantillation or the intonation marks to tell you how it's supposed to sound when you say it musically, but rather just the sound of the word itself in terms of the syllable. Okay, this is a schwa. Sometimes people say shva, and it denotes a pause, either a pause or a quick joining to the next syllable after it. Okay, depending on what comes after it, that's going to determine how you pronounce it. And this right here is what we call a patach, which makes a ah sound. This is called a hirik or a chirik, which makes an e sound. This is called a shva or shwa again. Okay, this is a chometz, which makes an all sound. This is sere. Okay, and the sere makes an a sound. It makes an a sound, as in they. And this is, again, is a schwa. And this is a chametz again. Okay, all makes an all sound. And this is a segol with a shva. Okay, segol with the shva or shwa. Okay, and this is a sere, again, a sound. And sego makes an e sound. And this is a schwa again. And this is a chametz. This is a segol. And I said "and" because it makes an e sound. This is an e sound, but the name of it is segol, which happens to be an Aramaic word for a bunch of grapes. And this again is a chametz, which makes the all sound, as in fall or alt. Okay, so the first word we have here, of course, now we will say shami in the West African vernacular of Hebrew that was developed in the early to mid part of the 20th century in the 1900s in Harlem. But the ancient or older pronunciation going back 1,000 years would be shma, sh, ma, okay, shma, which means here. Okay, so that sh sound right here would combine with the ah sound right here, the mem sound. So you would kind of bring those two together like shm, like shma, like shmoney, all right, like shmoney. Okay, so you can understand. So you say shma, and this is a very rare sound to hear. You hear it in Arabic a lot. That all sound in Arabic, and you hear it in Iraq, Iran, which is why you say Iraq and Iran is Iran or Iraq. Okay, this is a hayin. Okay, so it'd be shmal, and this, contrary to popular belief, is a musical note. Okay, and we can go over that another time. You can look for a book called Music of the Bible Revealed, and it gives you the system that was written inside of the Tanakh in the Hebrew, with the different symbols that give musical sounds, and it breaks down what each symbol means. I'm not going to go over it in this video. Now, again, this one is going to be ye. The dot at the bottom is going to tell us to say an E sound. Okay. Now, when you go back to biblical Hebrew, most scholars agree that initially there was not really a distinction between the sh and the s. Okay, so you can say yeesh or you can say yeast. All right, but according to as it is written, we'd say yeast, which is why people say east or Israel. Okay, people don't say Israel. Okay, so now because when we have a short, excuse me, vowel before the what is this? Before the shwa or the shava or the shava or shawa, either way. I prefer shwa. When we have this indicator after an e, or e, meaning after patak, e meaning after a sego, which is the three dots on the left side, or after an e, which is right here. So after e, or e, we would it would be a closed syllable, which means that we would let it stay by itself. We'd say yish, right? So we'd say yis. It's going to be yis, and this is resh, rosh. It means head. People say resh. You say rosh. Either way, we're not gonna. It's kind of a tomato type of thing, but it's the diacritic or the nikudot at the bottom that makes the distinction. Same two letters though. Actually, same three letters spell out this word. So anyway, at the bottom we have the chamatz, which is going to be all. So it's going to be yis raw, like alt, or fault, or fall. All right. Now, technically, this is supposed to be a glottal stop. When we have it with a vowel at the bottom, it's supposed to be a glottal stop, like the little space that you have when you say uh-oh. So it's a glottal stop. So it'll be yisro. It'd be like yisro, and you stop, like a hard stop. Uh-oh. Yisro. Okay. Yisro. So it'd be yisro ale. Ale. Remember, this is sere, so it makes an A sound. Yisrael, Yisrael, which is Yisrael. So far we have we have Shema, Yisrael, and this is going to be Yahweh. This is going to be Yahweh. Okay, we don't pronounce it as this because this was put there for a certain reason by the Masoretic scholars, and I'm not going to get into that right now, but it's put there for a reason. Okay, I'm not going to get into that right now, though. All right, but we'll say Yahweh. Now, this right here, we're going to say this kind of tells you to say it a little faster. So it'd be lo, okay? Up here, you can't see this right here, but this is we have like a holim up here, or a holam, which is like a O sound. So it'd be Elohim, okay? But right here, instead of Elohim, which is how you usually see this word, you see Elohim a lot more than you see Eloheinu. So we'll say Elo. This tells you to kind of rush this a little bit, rush it. Elo, right? Like hello, but you say Elo, Elohe. So it's hey, okay? This is hey, said a. So it's hey, and this is going to be a noon. This is a letter name, Nun or Nawan, and then we have a Wawa. And at the Wawa right here, we have what you call a Shuruk or Shuruk, which tells us to make the U sound. So this would be Eloheinu, 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 Eloheinu. Okay, so we have Shema Yisrael, Yahweh, Eloheinu, and again, Yahweh, and again, Yahweh. All right. So put a glottal stop before you say this. Like, and you won't hear it unless you listen very closely. Yahweh, Yahweh, instead of Yahweh. It's Yahweh, because you're coming from a glottal stop position at the back of your throat. You're closing it up, then opening it, and making this S sound with the sego. Okay, so it'd be and this is gonna give you the chayat or the chet with a sound of all coming from the chamatz and the dalet at the end. So it'd be echad, echad, echad. I'm sorry, echad. You hear people saying echad because they take this and let it say an ah sound. That's in mostly going into like the Sephardic tradition, which combines the ah and the eh vowels. Okay, so it would be echad, echad, oh, fall, ought, law, echad, echad. So it'd be Shema Yisrael, Yahweh, Eloheinu, Yahweh, Echad. So that's how we would say that, brothers and sisters. Very simple, very straightforward, not really difficult. Okay. It's very, very easy to understand, not difficult to grasp, and practicing it one syllable at a time is probably going to be the best way for you to have a more of an academic, grammatically ancient way to read in the Hebrew Bible. So syllable for syllable, we would say, and this is kind of funny because all of this kind of rolls together as one syllable. All right. So we have Shema. And believe it or not, we only have one technical vowel in this word. Okay. This is not a vowel. And that's why when people write it, they say Shema, because this is a quick, short E sound that blends together almost perfectly with the mem. So you would say Shema, Shema, okay, Shema, Ayin. So you say Shema, 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 okay, Shema, Shema, Ma, Shema, Ayin, Shema. All right. So you say Shema and Yish or Yis, Ro, El, Yahweh, Lo, Hey, Nu, Yahweh, Echad, Echad, Shema Yisrael, Yahweh, Eloheinu, Yahweh, Echad. Okay, so that's how you would say that. I know it's 20 minutes, right, going into it, but just take your time. There's no rush. Sometimes you'll get, I don't want to say frustrated, but you'll get kind of tired of just taking your time and you're kind of bored easily. But repeating it and saying it all over, finding a verse in the Bible that has as many of the combinations or as many of the nikudot as possible. It has all 7 vowels. That has the shava or the shema, not the shema, but the shava or the shwa, which is this letter right here, this symbol, the 2 dots on top of each other. All right, that has that also in the combinations. You'll do real good. Just taking your time, and you don't have to rush. Um, you don't have to rush. Now, I'll tell you this: when you have a guttural letter, such as the hey, all right, or hayin, or the aleph, or the chet, all right. Um, just give me those four as examples. What you would do is this when you have this word right here. I don't care what word it is. Well, I don't. Let's not use that one. Let's use another word because I don't want to confuse the schwa rules with the wawa on the front. Let's find a word that has a schwa on the front of it, and then has a um, and then has a guttural letter from that's pronounced from the back of your throat um, as the second letter, and I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about. Okay, so just give me a second. Let me read right here. Let me do a little bit of scrolling. Um, okay. I'm trying to find a good word to use. Um, Sometimes this is considered to be a glottal, a guttural sound, but that's kind of controversial between people. So I won't between different communities. So I won't really use that one. A lot of people don't recognize it. Some people do. So let me find something that has a schwa on the front of it, and then has a guttural letter after it. Okay, so if you see something on here, okay, here's a here's here's a good example. Well, I'd rather not use something with a preposition. This is being used as a preposition, which means um, in all your heart. So I don't want to use a preposition. Just even something that has a pronoun prefix on it, like the Hebrew way to write the word Judah, would be a good example. But we don't have that. We don't have that um, in this chapter right here. Judah is in this. The word Judah is not in this chapter. Um, Let me go back. Here's verse 1. Okay, I'll start from verse 1 again. Looking word for word. Oh, by the way, that means hear Israel, Yahweh, our God or our power. Yahweh is one. All right. I just want to give you the example of the guttural sounds and how you would pronounce a guttural sound after the shava, when you're reading it. You pronounce it with the same vowel that follows that guttural letter. Okay, but I'm not finding, I don't want to use a preposition or an indicator like this. Like I don't want to use lamed, which is to Abraham or to Abraham. I don't want to use that. All right. You know what? I'll go ahead and use this. So you right here, you would say La Abraham. Right. Let's just use this as an example, and let me zero in on this. Okay. So this says to father. This is saying to, and this is saying father, and this is saying a lot or a multitude, which coincidentally Raham, all right, which Ram means high. We'll take that Hey out of there. You have Ram, which means like high or exalted, and Raham means a lot, right? So anyway, you see this, you have the Lamed, and then you have a Shwa under the Lamed. So normally people would say Le Abraham. That's how people say Le Abraham, which is very similar to the, and that shows you the Sephardic influence on the brothers in Harlem that started the pronunciation system with all R's, calling it Paleo Hebrew, which Paleo Hebrew meaning this is the ancient pronunciation, but the Paleo that we can trace pronunciation wise will be something that we can go back to the 1st century and say. The oldest we can go back is actually not 1st century, but First Temple. And we can actually go to the time of the First Temple, and we see the Babylonians and the Akkadians, Assyrian people in that Mesopotamian region. They transcribed our names from Hebrew into the cuneiform writing system, and they transcribed our names using pretty much the same vowels that we have with those names today. So they didn't just use all Ahs when it came to words that didn't. In other words, when they wrote Judah, they didn't write Yahawada. They transcribed it with vowels, and they did this for all of the words that still carry other vowels besides Ah in them today. So nonetheless, you have this Lamed. Now, normally, you have the Lamed, you said Le. Now, in the Tiberian pronunciation system, you say La. You La real quick. La Braham. La Braham. All right. But now, instead of Raham, you say La Brohom. La Brohom. Okay, because this is a chomatz or chometz, people say. So that sound would be O. La Brohom. Okay. La Brohom. So, because this has a patak after it, and it's normally in the Tiberian going to say La Braham, it's not a good example because the patak in the a short patak sound is described in the Hidayat al-Qari, the 11th century Hebrew grammar book, as being the natural sound following the shwa, not the sound that we have now. In other words, Labraham is how people would say it now in the Sephardic pronunciation. Labraham, Labraham. But the Tiberian, which is older than the Sephardic tradition, would say Labraham, Labraham. So let's find another example. Let's find another example with this is considered to be a guttural because it's a glottal stop. It starts at the back of your throat. Okay. So let's see if we can find another one that suits our demonstration purposes. Okay. And oddly enough, we don't really have any that we can use. Very, very odd indeed. Okay. Here's another one. We could use that, but again, it has the ah after, and I want one that does not have the, or here's one. Perfect. Okay. Okay, and this is like and make them. Okay. So this is Deuteronomy 6:18. Now this is 6:18. Okay. Now, this, and I know I really didn't want to use the wawa. All right. I really didn't want to use the wawa, but I'll use it. So I'll use this word, I'll use the wawa. I didn't really want to use the wawa. Right. So we have a wawa, and then we have a, what is this? We have a shva or shwa, and then we have the alayin, and we have a chamatz, which is a aw. And then we have the sheen, all right, sheen, and the sheen is gonna be like a s sound. And then we have the hidik underneath of it. Okay. With the hidik underneath of it, this is a musical note. And then over here, we have a yod, which is going to be connecting with the hidik under here. And then over here, we have the tau, or the tawa, as we say, or the tau. And then it has a chamatz under it also. Okay. So now you would, now let's just give a let's just give a quick understanding real quick. Okay, let's give a quick understanding. When we have this wawa, look at verse 18 right there. Okay, now if you look at that wawa right there, it has the shwa underneath of it. Okay, layin, layin, layin. So it's like layin. Law is the most important sound, and a chamatz underneath of it is also a sound that we want to have present. All right, when we're pronouncing it. Now this is gonna come forth as a consonant and vowel combination. So when it comes forth as that vowel combination, it's gonna say oh. It's gonna say oh, oh. So ha yin is the name of the letter, but oh is gonna say it. So it'd be ha, re, ri, ro, ro, and ro, and re, re. So that's how we would make those 7 vowel sounds. Again, we'd have ha, ro, re, re, ri, ro, ro. Okay, so those are the vowel sounds that we'd have if we were saying that. If we were saying that we're saying that sound rather with any of those vowel combinations. Okay, any of those vowel combinations. So wait, I don't know. Can you all see the mouse right here? Or just, can you see the mouse going back and forth across the screen right here? Shalom, Masha. Can y'all see that mouse going across the screen right now? Let me know if somebody's there. See that mouse? I'm assuming you can, because I haven't seen the response. But let's just bring it. Let's just imagine we can't and go back to the screen. Okay. So this one would be when you have a shwa before a guttural sound, and this is hayin, a guttural sound from the back of your throat. The vowel sound after that guttural sound, which is going to be all, is going to be the same vowel sound that you make after the wawa. So this would be actually it would be wa, si, tho. So to be wa, it'd be wa, si, tho. Okay, and that's why you take your time, because these these syllable combinations are very unusual to us that grew up speaking English or Spanish. But if you grow up speaking Turkish or Arabic and or other Semitic languages like Aramaic and Ge'ez or Amharic or Somali, then it's going to be very easy. So take your time, don't rush it, and pronounce it syllable by syllable. Okay. So this is going to be wa, but it's going to be fast. Wah, wah. Okay. Wa, ra. Remember, it's hayin. Wa, ra, si, thaw. Wa, ra, si, thaw, which means like, you all make, all right, something to that effect. Okay. So that's an example of when you have that wawa with the schwa, or you have a letter with the schwa at the beginning of a word, and then you have a guttural sound, a guttural sound following that schwa. Whatever vowel sound is attached to that guttural letter is going to be the same vowel sound you attach to that schwa. Okay. Like right here, you would say way, re, do, tho. All right, tho. All right, so that's how you would say that, because that glottal or the guttural sound of the yin is followed by an a sound. A, like they, they. So you say way, re, do, do, do. All right, do. So that's how you would pronounce that word. But focusing on this, it'd be were, were, were. Okay, were. So you hear that a sound, and you're gonna, of course, it repeats twice in that situation. Okay. I don't see any more that I could really, that I'm comfortable using. I don't see any more other than the ones that have the lamed, and the k also would be considered to be the guttural sound. But we don't really have any good combinations right here. Again, I didn't sign up to do all of that tonight, today, this afternoon at all. This would be good if this wasn't if it wasn't a preposition and a p, right? Some people would say this is a f because there's no dagesh. Okay. I really wish I could find another word that has the combination that we're looking for. So let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 1. Maybe we can find it here. And again, my reading sometimes switches back and forth because it's more straightforward for me using that original Hebrew that I learned, all right, from the teachers and the elders at One West, even though that is not the most ancient available pronunciation system that we can document right now. So normally we would say al-ha ha-dabarium ashara dabar masha al-khal yashar Allah ba-ibar ha-yardan, which means these, the words which or that speak or spoke Moses al to kal all yashar Allah, Israel, ba-ibar, on side ha the Yardan, ba madbar, in the desert. Then it says ba iraba, the desert in Arba. All right. Um, so anyway, the point is that the point that I'm making is that just because the people from One West, that's learning Hebrew from One West, um, just because we speak or pronounce the Hebrew differently doesn't mean we don't understand the words. Okay, the plain. Just because we say it differently doesn't mean that we don't understand the words. We understand the words. All right. It's just like if a Jamaican sees something that says thing, they're gonna say ting. If they see something that says here, they may say ya. All right. Or over there, they may say yaso. Or you say kunya, they may say ya for here. All right. Kunya, come here. Over there, so over there, so just because they say de or de doesn't mean that they don't know what the word there means. So we have practices that evolve over years, sometimes voluntarily, sometimes involuntarily, of how we pronounce different words. So let's not be overly critical of each other's pronunciation. Let's just be knowledgeable of what we're saying and what we're reading and what the understanding of those words is, and when we translate them or convey them into a different language, so that way we have a mutual understanding of what these words mean to us and to other people. All right. So let's not really trip, because if push comes to shove, all you have are traditions of how people pronounce things. You don't have anything going back to the first or second century from Hebrew scholars, from Levites, guardians of the Torah scrolls, telling you this letter and this letter combination is always pronounced this way. Okay. Now here's an example. All right. You see this? This is this is the word that we can look at. All right. Now this word right here is usually translated as behold, but it means, see. Natanya, I'm giving lapanyakam to your faces, or before you all, I'm giving to you before your faces. So anyway, this is the example. This is a perfect, well, we got two of them. Well, I want to use that. We got two of them. This is a good example. This is a resh, and the resh has a shava attached to it, right here. And the shava attached to it says, normally you would say ra, not ra and not re, but you would say ra. Now I'm not doing the Sephardic or the Ashkenazi or whatever. I'm doing the documented Tiberian pronunciation system. But it would be it'd be like re. And this one would be, because you have this is considered to be a guttural sound. Why? Because it's coming from the back of your throat. It's coming from the back of your throat. It's a glottal stop, meaning that you pause before you let that next sound out. So this would be with an A, okay, with an A, or you can say with an A, and that ha is going to be with an A, okay. Now, normally, most people would say with an A, or with an A. But the proper documented grammatical way to say it from the 11th century and the complete grammatical text that we have would be re. Why? Because this is a sede. Now, the Sephardic pronunciation doesn't make a distinction between the A or the sede and the segol right here, the three grapes, the grapes at the bottom. So they pronounce this one and this one the same. Okay. But before that, they were pronounced distinctly. So when I read it, I like to read it by the oldest method that we have available to us. So it's not about my personal tradition or another community's personal tradition. It's a matter of what we have available to us academically for the grammatical pronunciation of it, what the records say. So this would be Rei Eich, okay, Rei Eich. And it's hard to pronounce that on the end because that's not something that we're used to pronouncing. It's almost like in the English when we say stop, you know, he was walking, he crossed the street, but he didn't stop before that. He didn't stop before he crossed. You very rarely hear stop, right? You very rarely hear stop. Or I thought I heard you, you know. We thought you were going to be here. We thought. Nobody says we thought. We thought. All right. But that's the sound that the word thought ends with. Okay. It ends with a T, but very rarely do you hear the T. Very rarely do you hear somebody saying you have to come to a full stop before you cross the street. People don't say you have to come to a full stop before you cross the street. You need to stop and think. When you hear that A syllable coming after it, now the P, stop and think, because you're saying stop panned. But when it's the last part of the word, it's rare that you hear. But anyway, with this hey right here, this hey, it's going to be harder for you to pronounce it. It's there. The significance of it means to behold. And the ox right here, the aleph is an ox, and this is a head, resh. So it's head, ox, behold. So it's head, ox, behold, which is like pay attention. And the word itself is translated as behold, but it does mean to see. But the letters themselves spell out something, in the pictographs. This is resh, which is the head of a man. This is a alap or aleph, which is the head of an ox. And this is a hey, to behold something, check something out. All right. So it's head, ox, behold. So see, look, pay attention. You got 4 sets of eyes right here. 4 sets of eyes. And then if you're talking about an individual person, you have 4 sets of eyes focusing or beholding on something. So if you don't understand what this word means, you still know it has something to do with people's eyes. And that's why it means like look or behold or check this out. Okay. Just by the letters that we see right here. We have 2 sets of eyes with the man's head right here. 2 sets of eyes. And then we have 2 sets of eyes and 2 horns with the ox right here. And then we have the hay, which is usually written originally it was written with 2 hands facing up, but it means to behold. So somebody has to look at something and check something out. So instead of just the man, you have the eyes of the man, the eyes of the ox. So we get into a deeper understanding and meaning of the letters and helping us to understand what the words mean. But from a grammatical perspective, this sound would be a. So it'd be with a. That's how you would pronounce this. Okay? You pronounce it re. You wouldn't say re. You wouldn't say re. You say re. Re. Okay? So that's just, one of the rules that we have with the Tiberian pronunciation system. Okay? Which when you read historically, this was the one that everybody wanted to use as their basis for proper pronunciation. You can look at any old grammar book from around the 10, 11, 12th century, and it'll tell you that. Of course, you gotta seek it out. Okay, now what I want to do, I want to go to let's go to Exodus chapter 1, which says these names, children, Israel, Jacob, it came, Egypt, with Jacob, man and his house, came. Now you see Reuben. Now, when you see Reuben written, you usually see Reuben written with the R. You see Reuben, Reuben. Now it's supposed to be a U. Why? Because here we have a U sound. We have a shuruk right here. Shuruk. This is the vowel sound after the guttural sound. So it's supposed to be Ru'ubain, Ru'ubain, Ru'ubain instead of Ru'ubain. It's Ru'ubain. Why? Because that's the rule. The rule is that when you have a shwa, and after the shwa, you have a right here. After the shwa, you have a guttural sound, which is going to be the aleph, aleph, or alap, alap. After that, you have a vowel sound of oo. Whatever vowel sound comes after the guttural letter, that's going to be the same vowel sound that you're going to put after the shwa. So in this case, we have the shuruk. We have resh, aleph. We have resh, shwa, aleph, wawa, shuruk, bet, and sede, and we have a noon finally. So remember, we just came from off of this word, which means look or see. So we have the eyes of the man with the resh, and we have the eyes of the ox with the two eyes of the ox right here with the aleph, with the alap. So it's telling you to look at something. Okay, so it's saying look, a boy, and it could be saying look, and it's not really, but it kind of, you can see, it could be saying look, you all. It could be saying look, you all, which is it'd be kind of, because the wawa usually at the end of like a three syllable, not a three syllable, but a three character verb comes off as a third person, as a second person mandate. So you all look, right? So that could be how this kind of was seen originally, with the hay left off or dropping over time, because it is a mandate. When his mother said, look a boy, or look a son. And we see the same word son right here, bane. And we see the same word son here, bane. But this is going to be b'nai, all right, b'nai. Now this one right here, usually they put an apostrophe there. So they say b'nai, b'nai, all right? So that's how they would usually say it, but we're not going to trip on that too much. I'm just using this as an example to show you the word son right here, even though it's pronounced differently, and the word son right here at the end of Reuben's name. So again, this would be it'll be Reuben. Okay, Reuben. That's how we would say that, which would be R apostrophe, telling you to make that stop. Then it'd be another U. All right. So when you see this U, you know that sound and that apostrophe, that's a letter there where you have to include that vowel sound with the R, or you can just put R kind of like apostrophe-ish. And then go into the U, all right, and then the B-E-I-N. But people say Reuben, but it's supposed to be Reuben, all right? Reuben. That's how you're supposed to say it. Now, one of my favorites though is see, we got it says we Hudoh, which means and Judah. So I would like to have Judah. I would like to have Judah by itself. All right. So you can see why they call it Judah, why they say Ju. Okay. Why they say Ju when we say the word Judah. Go back to the birth of Judah. All right, let me show you that real quick. And then I'll stop. I didn't really expect to be going this long. I didn't really expect to be going this long tonight. Okay, here we go right here. See this? Remember the rule. Here's a yod with a shwa. Then we have a hey coming from the back of the throat. H. High comes in the back of your throat. Okay. Hello. It's an aspirant, but it's still guttural from the back of your throat. Kind of joining together somewhat. But anyway, the point I'm making is we have this hey, which is a guttural letter from the back of your throat. Then after that, just like with Ubain, we have a wawa. All right. We have a wawa with making a U sound. Okay. Okay. With the shuruk, then we have the daleth. Anyway, let's get right to it. So according to this guttural letter, then we have the wawa after it, the shuruk, which is the wawa with a dot in the middle of it, to the left of it. That's why we would say Yehudah. All right. You would say Yehudah. All right. Some people say Yehudah. But again, because this A sound of the all, like law or fall, got blended in with the patah sound of a people started to say Yehudah. And then over time, they just said Yehudah. All right. Then over time, they say you. Okay. This who kind of got dropped over time. And then they started to say, and then a different pronunciation came in and they said, Yehuda. Okay. And then again, over time, the who got dropped and it became Yuda. And the Yuda, the hey got dropped over time, but the proper pronunciation of it, as old as we can go back, is going to be Yehudah. Yeah, quick. Yehudah. All right, but now, not as far back as we can go, but the Sephardic, it would be Yehudah. But now, once we take in the 11th century grammar book, instead of Yehudah, it changes to Yehudah. See, it changes. The pronunciation changes because that U is going to carry the whole word. The U is going to carry those first two syllables because that's the rule when we have a shwa with a shwa, and after the shwa, at the beginning of the word, we have a guttural letter as a second letter, and the vowel sound, which is the shuruk, after the guttural letter, is going to be the same sound that you put with your Shua. Okay, so it'd be Yehudah. So that's how we would pronounce that word, which is going to be Judah. Now, some people would say, I would also be able to say Yahawada, but grammatically it would be Yehudah. Now, some people say Yehudah, right? But most people say Yehudah, putting the syllable on putting the emphasis on the second to the last syllable. Okay, so I think that's really gonna do it. That's really gonna do it for now. We could keep going on and on and on and on. All right, like Erica Badu and the Energizer Bunny, but we're gonna go ahead and just shut it down like Public Enemy. And I think we've come to the end of the road for tonight, like Boys to Men. And I think that's going to do it. So we kind of got off topic, slightly. But, it's okay. We laugh together, we learn together, and we're all right. Okay. We're all right. So again, Shema, Yisrael, Yahweh, Eloheinu, Yahweh, Echad. So I hope this was somewhat useful or beneficial to you. We went into a few rules, and some of those rules are, very, slightly difficult to remember, but not impossible to remember. Little difficult or challenging to remember, but with practice and with being conscientious of how you want to say these words in your brain first, and recognizing and remembering these rules thoroughly, little by little, is going to help your pronunciation. But the most important thing, no matter how you pronounce it, is to have an understanding of what the word means. You must understand the word itself, the meaning of the word. All right, so shalom. This is Elder Judge Parazah with Mashara Yasha'Allah, Government of Israel, and the Banya Yasha'Allah, Children of Israel, the original, one and only, no phony baloney. May the Most High, God of Israel, bless, protect, and guard you and your household. All right, Bashem Yeshua HaMashiach, Bashem Yahushua HaMashiach. Shalom.